till now we saw how to develop like REST assured API calls using TestNG, Maven, and Java code. So we implemented couple of things here, and after that this is the scenario. So here for on testing, this is the test cases, right? But if we have multiple test case, then again we need to repeat the lines of code. So for example, here these two lines of code where we define like request spec and response spec. So these two things is required for most of the test cases if we have multiple test cases in this same file. Extra code, these two lines of code we have to write again and again. So there is a better alternate solution where we don't need to repeat these lines of code. Instead of putting it inside the test case, we can define this outside this test block, and then we can use those things. So for doing that, we can use like on we can define these two variable outside, and then we can actually use this thing by initializing different way. So let's see how we can do this thing. So at first I'm going to copy these two lines of code. Okay, we don't need the whole line, but still I'm going to copy here, and here I'm going to mark those private. So both of them I'm going to mark as private. Okay, so like this we can initialize like detail, but I'm not going to initialize like this way. I'm going to initialize in a different way. So I'm going to remove this two part very shortly, and we'll use on TestNG annotation. It is called before class. So we can type the annotation before class. Okay, so this is the thing we can use it. So what is the term of before class? So before class means is time when this test case, I mean this class will be executed. Before that, every time the following two lines, I mean I will create on method, this method will be executed. Let me write the method first, then I can discuss. It will be meaningful. Like I'm going to create another method like this, like public. It should be public. We don't need any main method. Public here, and it should be void, and suppose the method name is like setup, because we are going to set up this thing, right? These two things, request spec and response spec, right? So I just named it like this way, and this is a method, and here we have to define like this. This is a method block. So what I'm going to do, so using this before class, that means this lines of code will be executed before each test scenario. So this is on test. So another test in this way, if we have like 10 test cases here, so this method will be initialized at the beginning, and then after that it will be executed one by one. Okay, so here I'm going to define those two things, like this thing I'm going to define like this, Control C. I'm going to initialize it over here, and also I'm going to initialize this part. Okay, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it over there. So like this way I did. Okay, and this part we can remove, we don't need it anymore. Okay, so here we did this thing. So private request specification and request specs, and then after that we define another variable which is private also, response spec. Okay, and here we initialize like this way, request specification dot get request spec, and this thing, right? So now these two lines we don't need it anymore. So I'm going to comment this thing, or we can remove this thing, whatever you want. Okay, so we don't need those part, so I'm going to remove this thing. Okay, and this part actually we don't need it, we can keep it if you want. And here is the clean version. So here what he did, we defined these two variable outside and here. So here I need to initialize this thing, I forgot. So we need to initialize this thing, and then after that like this. Okay, now our test case is done basically. So this is the before class method, and this is the test. So now if we try to run it, let's see whether it is giving us any error or not. I'm going to run it by right click and then I'm going to choose run as, and then I'm going to choose testng test, and let's see whether it is able to run it or not. So I'm going to maximize this thing, this window, like output window, and here we see test runs 1, failure 0, skip 0. Total test runs 1, passes 1, failure 0, and skip 0. So that means it is working properly, and this is the request like body, and this is the response body, right? So here we are getting the booking ID also, and everything is fine. And if there is failure, then we should get some message over here, right? So like message means basically like this, these are the assert scenario, right? Assert not null or equal, something like that. So if there is any mismatch, then we'll get the information like here. Okay, so that's it. In this way we can modularize our code more, and the coming future videos we are going to see how we can use same concept to implement the other methods of REST assured API, like put we already completed put like post, right? This is the post request we completed. We have other methods like get, delete, and some other things are there. We'll try to complete one by one.